Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, April 19th. A chilly start to the day in the Mid-Atlantic region. It'll turn milder this afternoon with breezy conditions as well, and then increasingly warm on Thursday and Friday. Friday promises to be quite warm in that D.C. to Philadelphia, New York City corridor, well up in the 80s in Philadelphia and New York City as well. Perhaps a flirtation with the 90-degree mark in the D.C. metro region on Friday afternoon. Certainly can be some record-challenging warmth on Friday. Then a strong cold front slides across the Ohio Valley on Saturday, reaches the eastern seaboard Saturday night into the early part of Sunday. It could produce some soaking rainfall in the I-95 corridor region overnight Saturday night into early Sunday morning. We'll go into some of the factors as to why there could be a soaking rain with this upcoming cold frontal system. There will be a very chilly air mass on its heels that'll flood into the middle of the nation early this weekend, reaches the eastern states later on Sunday night, certainly cooler than normal conditions expected in the eastern U.S. Sunday and Monday. And again, very chilly air for this time of the year headed into the middle part of the nation where it's certainly growing season and certainly some concern for overnight lows to near freezing in some of those, the heartland area of the nation. Let's start off by looking, first of all, at the Canadian model run here from 0Z, 500 millibar vorticity maxima shown here in deep orange, and we'll see what evolves over the upcoming weekend associated with that strong cold frontal system. Again, high pressure generally in control right now over the Midwest, over the Mid-Atlantic region. We'll move forward here and see how this evolves as we get into the upcoming weekend. Here we have a pretty deep upper level low situated over the northern plains by Friday morning, and there'll be an intensifying surface cold front associated with this. Here we are by Saturday morning, upper level low over the upper Midwest with a cold front starting to cross the Mississippi Valley and then into the Ohio Valley. And notice what starts to happen here by the time we get into Saturday evening. We have what we call kind of a negatively tilted upper level trough. That's when the upper level low trough axis is oriented from northwest to southeast, as it is in this particular case by Saturday night. What that ends up doing is really generates strong upward motion in this flank of the storm here on the eastern side of that upper level trough. When you have a negatively tilted upper level trough like that, it really enhances the upward motion, and that leads to the possibility, in this particular case, of some soaking rainfall in the eastern part of the nation, including the I-95 corridor region Saturday night. Also throws out the possibility of some strong thunderstorm activity. Let's move a little bit farther in time, and here's that negative tilted trough here by early Sunday morning. And again, could be some soaking rainfall as a result right along that I-95 corridor region. Then we get into the day on Monday and on Sunday, and cool for this time of the year, certainly below normal temperatures throughout the Great Lakes and Midwest come Sunday and Monday as well. And that cooler than normal air slides into the Mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S. on the heels of that cold frontal passage. Well, let's see how this translates to the lower atmosphere temperatures. We're looking at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. This is a few thousand feet off the surface. And the reason I generally look at 850 millibar temperatures as opposed to surface temperatures, these tend to be a lot smoother and a little bit easier to tell what the overall pattern is. The surface temperatures, of course, have terrain to deal with, and it's just a little bit smoother look to look at the 850 millibar level. Again, that's like 4,000 or 5,000 feet above the surface. We have a chilly start to the day here on Wednesday, April 19th, in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the Northeast U.S. But sunshine this time of the year really helps to boost those temperatures, and we'll climb from the 30s in many suburban locations this morning in the I-95 corridor region to the 60s this afternoon, maybe even the 70s, places like Washington, D.C. We talked the other day about continuation of cold air outbreaks. Certainly that continues to look like the case as we go all the way into the month of May. There will be cold air outbreaks, additional cold air outbreaks reaching the northern part of the U.S. Now, on Thursday, and especially on Friday, it'll become increasingly warm in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the Northeast U.S., maybe even some record-challenging warmth on Friday afternoon. Places like D.C., maybe even Philadelphia. I expect Philly well up in the 80s, maybe the lower 80s in New York City, and perhaps a flirtation with the 90-degree mark in the D.C. metro region on Friday afternoon. All of this ahead of an incoming colder than normal air mass. As you can see right here, this is the Friday morning forecast map, and very chilly air pouring into the Central Plains at the end of the work week. Let's move forward here. And Saturday is when that surface cold front will slide across the Ohio Valley. Much, much colder than normal air out across the middle of the nation. Again, all the farmland out in the middle of the nation, certainly the northern plains, the upper part of the Midwest, have to watch out for overnight lows by Friday night, Saturday night to near freezing, which may be a problem this time of the year. Let's move forward now. That cold front moves into the eastern part of the nation, near the eastern seaboard by Saturday night. This is the time period with the possibility of some soaking rainfall along the I-95 corridor region. Soaking rainfall has been missing largely in the picture in the Mid-Atlantic region for the last couple of months. I checked Philadelphia, for example. It's only had one weather event with more than an inch of precipitation, liquid equivalent precipitation, and that's all the way back in January. D.C. has actually not officially had any day since January 1st, going back to the beginning of the year, with an inch or more of liquid equivalent precipitation. Soaking rainfall is a possibility on Saturday night. Let's move forward here now into Sunday morning. That cold front should push off the eastern seaboard sometime early on Sunday, and that colder air mass that will first arrive in the middle of the nation, and then the Great Lakes, Midwest, will then push to the east into the Mid-Atlantic region and the Northeast U.S. by the time we get to the early part of next week. This is Monday morning forecast map, way below normal throughout much of the eastern half of the nation come the early part of next week. Well, how does this translate at the surface? Let's take a look at the surface forecast maps from the zero-Z run of the Canadian model here. A large-scale flow here from the south to the north, pumping up milder air into the middle part of the nation, and that milder air will really flood the eastern states on Thursday, and especially during the day on Friday, with, again, perhaps record challenging warmth in some parts of the I-95 corridor region. Let's move forward here. A pretty dry pattern throughout the eastern third of the nation, right through the end of the work week. And here we go by Friday morning. You start to see some indications of a very chilly air mass, and indeed we have colder air pouring into this part of the nation by Friday morning, cold enough for more accumulating snow across the Dakotas and Minnesota, ultimately perhaps even into Wisconsin once again. We'll go a little farther in time here, and here we go by Saturday morning. That strong cold front at the surface level will be situated over the Ohio Valley, pressing to the east. Cold air for this time of the year will be pouring across the Great Lakes region, and again, that upper level support will then take on that negatively tilted trough axis, which enhances upward motion to the east of that trough axis. In this case, that will be over the Mid-Atlantic region come late Saturday night. That could lead to what the Canadian model is showing right here, a soaking rain possibility. Here's the frontal system right at this particular time, roughly in this location, come Saturday evening, 8 p.m. or so Eastern time. Again, the possibility for a soaking rainfall right in this particular zone right here. We'll go a little farther in time, and there we go, right along the I-95 corridor in those overnight hours on Saturday night. By the time we get into Sunday morning, that front moves up into New England, pushes off the Mid-Atlantic coastline, showers wind down in the morning hours, and then that cooler air starts to push across the Great Lakes into the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S. during the day. On Sunday, we'll go all the way out here now into Monday morning. This is Monday morning, and certainly a cold air mass for this time of the year right in this part of the nation. the upper part of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, into the Mid-Atlantic region and Northeast U.S. Colder than normal conditions by the time we get to the early part of next week. And that colder than normal air, again, floods into the middle of the nation in the Friday, Saturday time frame. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.